Hey, everybody, welcome to the very first episode of a brand new show that your boy decided to do. Inspired by this man, a longtime friend, longtime just rival if we talk about video games, just an all around brother from another mother, longtime friend of mine, goes by the name of Level One Ranger, Mario. And I wanted to do this show called Breaking the Ice. So, Breaking the Ice is not going to be like your typical way it was when we were in school, where they make you stand up in front of the classroom and, like, what's like your favorite color and what's like the movies you like? No, this is Breaking the Ice. I'm going to kind of hit a little closer to home, and depending on how the guest feels comfortable answering some questions, there's a couple things I actually had about him. So I did a little cheat sheet, as y'all know I love to do. So my cheat sheet's done because I asked him questions prior. So we're going to see how he likes it, see how he's in the hot seat. Who knows? He may talk more than I do. Doubtful, but we'll see. But in any event, Mario, welcome to the channel. You've been a longtime supporter. I'm
Yeah,
gonna not. I don't want to bring up your thing yet, but tell us a little bit about you.
I'm a father. I'm a hard worker. I'm a machinist. Um, I'm a nerd. I've known Dre for quite some time, a very long time, in fact.
14
Uh,
years? We calculated 14 years.
14 years. Yeah, it's been a while,
Just a
but
little bit.
yep. Me and Dre have been through the thick of it in many different games and D&D campaigns and just life events in general. So yeah,
That's true. We've been through so but a little bit about Mario is that I met him. So many of you know that I moved to North Carolina about late 2010, 2000, like early mid 20 like 2010, early 2011. And it was to help because my mom got sick. And I also at the same time didn't have a place to live. My mom obviously took priority because I was just kind of couch surfing in New York. So I came down to North Carolina literally with 4 duffel bags and a backpack. And I moved into my mom's house. For a while, I was just kind of roaming around and I found a store that was in Uptown Charlotte. So, Uptown for us, when you hear Mario and I ever talk about Uptown, it's our downtown. And it was a little game store. And I remember they had a like role playing night. So one day I walk into the store, I see Mario playing, at a table, and I was like, the DM had like an open slot. I came in, I made a character, and it kind of just started from there because that's where I also met Jacob, and the three of us actually became like kind of very good role playing friends. Jacob and I kind of lost touch. He still, I barely keep in touch with him, but Mario I've always kept in touch with. And we would go and play on these D&D nights, and it was just fun because we were just like we thought very similarly when we played. That's when he says a long time, so it feels like a long time ago. So we go back to like around that was around 20 late 2011, early 2012. And now fast forward, we're both well, I was already a dad, but now I'm a dad to 3 kids. He's now a dad to an army. He's
yeah,
like the Hulk. He's the Hulk, folks. When he says he's a literal dad, he's a good dad, guys. I think that when you look at him in the shirt that he's wearing, it's just proof that he is a nerd. I would almost say he's more of a geek than he is a nerd, but hey, that's just that's the way he wants to go by. I ain't gonna fight him on it. But yeah, we have been through the thick and the thin of it, and we still be boys. So that says a lot. So I'm gonna put on here now. This is something that Peanut picked. So your niece picked this picture. I gave her 2 options. She liked this one. So the Father Figures podcast, obviously here, and we call him. That's why I get to ask him if it's gonna be Level One Ranger, but he's Mario. That's his government name. Just keeping it on the real. We keeping a buck here. Now, one of the cool things I had to ask him was who are his favorite superheroes. Now, why am I sharing? I don't want to share. I want to show. There we go. Okay, so when I ask this question, it's always one of those things I feel that defines a person's idea, what they why they love it. So when I asked him this question, these were his answers. His favorite superhero is Batman, and his favorite villain is the Dark Phoenix. So I'm giving him this platform to not really sell me, but to tell y'all how the adult dad Mario. These are his picks. The floor is yours, good sir.
Well, I mean, obviously, when I say that Batman's my favorite superhero, honestly, just hero in general. But he's just the man with the plan, always prepared, and he's just like anybody else, but he has a little bit of money and decided to take on the worst of them, which are villains and even superheroes. He's got the plan for everyone. So I think Batman is the man. As far as the question is to who's my favorite superhero goes, but
So most people say as you get older, your superhero is like you love the hero, but you understand the villain more. I ironically enough feel Batman's like my or he's like my second, tied at my second favorite hero with Captain America. And when I think of why I like Batman, I think of, you know, a guy that deals through trauma and probably had, outside of his trauma, he had some of the best villains. I think of almost, I think tied with Spider Man, of the
yeah,
best villains gallery that you could ever
yeah.
think of. But I think I understand why the Joker, why Two Face, why Clayface, why all these villains are so really more the Joker, why he is the way he is, and why Batman and him have this kind of like permanent dance that they'll always do, like similar to Lex Luthor and Superman. Is that
Right.
something that you kind of identify with when you see these here, when you see Batman? That like you get maybe his villains gallery a little bit more better now. Like, can you get into that?
Well, I mean, it's almost like an ongoing thing with Batman and the villains that are in his, city. Um, it's an ongoing cycle. He goes out, he catches one, somehow they get broken out. It's almost like a turf war thing when it comes to the villains. Um, but he always comes out on top. But he's like I said, a little bit of prep time. Batman's the goat.
Interesting. Okay, because for those of you that don't know, if I was in the hot seat, my superhero is Spider Man. Y'all pretty much, if you looked at my desk, if y'all saw the shirt I'm wearing, I mean, he's Spider Man. It's really Miles Morales, but Spider Man in general. And I, I think I get where, the man with the plan. I always feel that he's only the man with the plan until he's not. And I think Ra's al Ghul is the one guy that could ever, if I'm going to ever say Batman cannot one up, is Ra's. Maybe I would even say Catwoman, Selena Kyle, because obviously they fall in love. But I feel like those would be maybe even Damien, his son. But again, that could be, it depends on how one like really delves deep into, the lore of that is Batman. And maybe I'll do that on one of these shows one of these days. I'll just like kind of sit and just go into that. But now,
I'm glad you actually kind of brought up the fact that Spider-Man and Batman kind of correlate with each other because of the villains. Um, Spider-Man's a close top tier superhero in my book. I just what sets them apart is Batman is a regular guy. You know, obviously he has skills, he has training, but at the end of the day, he has no superpowers, and he's out to protect us. The normal guys. So
so
I just
so, so you're saying that because he like I see folks, this is where it's going to get spicy because your boy's just like the wheels start turning. So what you're telling me is that because Batman lacks superpowers, which by role playing game standards, not Dungeons and Dragons, but the actual superhero games, Batman's hyper agility and superhuman fortitude, because the poor dude can get his ass whooped and still come back, and the fact that he's extremely brilliant. Now, mind you, he has unlimited resources and money, but are you telling me because he's a non superpowered human, he cares more about the regular man than somebody that's Peter Parker, who is the regular man with no funds and just wits and brains?
Well, let's be real. I feel like when Peter Parker got bit by the spider, it gave him these abilities, and then for he became Spider-Man. You know, without the bite, he wouldn't be Spider-Man. In
True,
my,
but
he went
equally, but
rich.
equally, he didn't have the funds. Comes as an orphan because he was, or he was orphaned to his aunt and uncle, and Alfred, if you consider him a father figure, which many people
I'm gonna say
would
that.
would,
Family,
he's family. We all kind of agree that he is. Uh, I would say they're pretty much almost walk a similar path up until you talk about not just superpowers, but I think
right?
the resource management. I mean, Spider-Man's not a mainstay Avenger. He's not like a mainstay Fantastic Four guy who could just literally walk into the Baxter building, have all his meals prepared, or be
Right,
government funded in any way. Like he's literally the average working man. Where Bruce inherited a
right, right,
family fortune and that's a still active business. I mean, it feels more like Bruce is out in the youth in me loved Batman because of the gadgetry. Like, where does he get those wonderful toys? Jack
right.
Nicholson's line was fantastic. But I think Spider-Man as I got older and Cap because of their mentality. Cap is probably going to be completely different in a different scope because of Cap's, superpowers. But when you like literally boil it down to brass tacks, I think that you can set apart that resources and power can be maybe a tipping point to them, but they both have a very similar trauma and levels of PTSD that I think it's superhuman to see how they go through it. What do you
Yeah,
think?
it's true. I mean, I completely agree, and it's funny that you were making this correlation between Batman and Spider-Man because it's kind of like I said, if Batman came across Spider-Man in some alternate universe and he saw that this um, superhuman had the abilities web sling, what do you think Batman would do? He'd go back
He
to
would
his cave.
study it. Yeah.
He he would develop his own web, and he would be out there slinging right there with them. Honestly, I
Uh,
mean,
I, mm,
he's already got the grappling hook down, and
yeah.
I mean, I could see it. I could see it, or
Oh
even
no.
team up.
Oh no. I think he would do something very similar to what like Iron Man would do, like what Tony has done and what we've seen in the comics. Tony runs across a problem. He makes a suit. He when they went to Asgard, he went and got nth metal, the stuff that was made, which we don't call it nth metal in the Marvel. I know nerds don't come after me, geeks don't come after me, but the metal that is Mjolnir, he made a suit of armor out of it, and he had Asgardian runes. I mean, there's a Hulkbuster suit. There's a suit for pretty much every occasion. Hell, he had the nanite suit, the bleeding edge armor. So I mean, we can go on and on. I
I mean,
think what's more interesting is your villain choice
yeah,
because she is that's like a very weird, in my mind, not in a negative way, but in an interesting way. It kind of sits like she could be a hero or a villain depending on what she does.
right.
Can you fill us in on why you chose her?
I mean, I just finished a lot of the X Men '97, and just based on the movies and some of the comics that I've read, she could be a very terrifying villain when she is the Dark Phoenix. And if you think about some of the heavy hitters like, Apocalypse and Doom, I feel like Dark Phoenix would give them a run for their money, in my opinion.
Well, she did get her
So
own saga in the freaking 90s. So, I mean, that was one of the, I think, when people look at X-Men comic books across the eras, I mean, obviously like Messiah Complex and Age of Apocalypse, Krakoa in the more current era and runs. But I would say Dark Phoenix Saga is probably quintessentially by in my personal view, I think is one of the most powerful eras of the mutant saga in
yeah,
Marvel. But I think that was where we kind of realized how frightening it can be to have her power wielded by I think she's considered an Omega. She's as Dark Phoenix, she's an Omega level mutant.
for
So
sure,
she
for sure.
she is the level of Xavier, Apocalypse, if I'm not mistaken, Nate Gray, which is ironically enough her son, and who was the other one? The Rachel Summers, uh, who takes the moniker Dark Phoenix and joins Excalibur. But I think that a lot of what I understood them to kind of say was it was her power wielded in the wrong hands. Because you and I play Rivals, we saw heroes actually be gifted by the Phoenix powers, like Namor, Majik, Cyclops, Emma, Wolverine, to just name a few. So obviously, her power in the right hands obviously can be very potentially deadly to villains, but in the
Right.
hands of somebody that doesn't know how to, like, I kind of almost would equate it to like Parallax in that sense. What's his name? The Parallax, the villain from Green Lantern. He he could where he gets all the rings and he can't control himself because he's got so much power, but he has to like wield it back,
Right.
and then like give up that because it takes over his will. So interesting picks, interesting picks. For everybody that's going to be seeing this on Friday when this actually drops, I would like for you guys to comment below who are your villain and hero picks, because if you guys like the comments that we're making here, please feel free, because I'll be checking the comments while I'm at work on Friday just to see what people are saying. I'm going to be interested. So let's move on to the next piece of homework I had given him, which is, and of course it doesn't want to be nice. Why would things ever want to work the way you want it to work? There we go. Now I'm gonna bring it back into frame here. Oh, it stopped it from sharing. Folks, you gotta love technology, right? It's raining real bad outside. I was telling my boy here, I said, man, it's raining. I hope they don't hear it in the background.
Mind
But
you, we're 7 states away. I'm in Ohio. Dre's in North Carolina.
we're about an 8-hour drive from each other, give or take. Give or take. That's how people. If I were to go to Ohio, he would have come here. Now, this was not a bone of contention. This, I think, is a true definition of how our age separates our love for comic book movies. So I loved this movie as a kid. I think this was one of the first movies as a teenager I went to the theaters multiple times to see. Why is this, out of all of the comic book movies that have been before the MCU, before the DC Entertainment Universe, how did those like bangers not win out to Ninja Turtles? I gotta know.
So I really, really had to think about it. I really did. And I knew that as a young kid, I absolutely loved the Ninja Turtles. And they are a comic book movie because before they were in the theaters, they were a comic book. And
Later than Eastman.
every Ninja Turtle, someone could see themselves in them. You know what I mean? Raph with
True.
his rage, leadership with Leo, Mikey's goofy personality, the intelligence of Donatello. You can see yourself in a Ninja Turtle. It's so dear to me from my childhood. Um, my mother was one who introduced me to Ninja Turtles, and I'll always keep that with me forever. Even the toys were so much different than even uh, action figures nowadays. They had so many different accessories when it came to their toys, with their vehicles, their weapons, their ninja stars. They were just an amazing franchise. The Ninja Turtles in the movies was absolutely amazing. But go ahead, Dre.
So I'm curious because I think that you're right. Like this was obviously a time where there was a lot of marketing, and I think as the kid in me back then, or a teenager in me when this came out, I totally agree with you. Like me and my friends, we were like, don't. My parents would drop us off to go see it. I think it was one of the other movies, like the second movie I saw by myself in the movie theaters. Was this? I mean, when you look at this turtle film and the practical effects and the corniness of it, which I love the campiness of it. I think it's what makes the movie so great. What is it that this one wins out over possibly the the Bayverse Turtles film? Which
Oh,
I'm
but
I'm
let's
not I'm not gonna say
think.
it's a good movie. I'm not gonna say it's a great movie, but it's a good movie because Casey Jones. I love me some Casey Jones.
Oh, come on, R. Casey Jones, man, is
No,
top
Elias
tier.
Koteas. Listen, Elias Koteas was a great actor, and he did a fantastic role as Casey Jones. Like,
Listen,
and
if
I'm just gonna say that.
if you grew up and you didn't shed a man tear when Raphael was hurt, or when they're out meditating in the woods and they, spiritually spoke to Master Splinter, you have no soul. You know what I mean? That's just a next level feeling. You know what I mean? In theaters and at home, watching your VHS of Ninja Turtles one, I, there's nothing that can compare to that. It's pure nostalgia, and yes, it's you know an older movie, but there's some uh, something special about the Ninja Turtles. So that's my top pick. So yeah.
No, and I think you saying that uh, there's, I think it hits me in the feels because I think to many people, like when I look back at all the movies that I love, and I'm a bit of a cinephile, love my movies. Um, like Kill Bill Volume 2 holds a huge place in my heart because it was the first time I remember dragging my mom to go see like a pop culture kind of movie that she had no interest in. And my mom was just like, she was willing to go see it because she liked action movies. And she didn't know any of the people in it. But when she, sat through it, she absolutely loved it. And I could just remember because it was like, I think I was like 16, maybe 17 when that movie came out. And, I was like, Ma, you want to go see this with me? And it was like, I get you. Like, I know that level of like, I told you the story. Like when I took Peanut to go see Superman. Now this really is gonna make me sound old. It was 42 years to the day, almost to the day, when the original Christopher Reeves film came out, and my mom and my dad took me to go see that. And I was the same age Peanut was. So last year, I was like, I had just turned 47 when Superman came out. And Corn Sweat did an amazing job, and I got to take Peanut to go see the film. So with Meredith, my wife, and we just like, oh my god, it was like for me, it was like that total like I completed the circle, like I've done it. And I think that when we have those core memories tied to these things, it gives you that, and I can understand now. And it's funny, as long as I've known you, I wouldn't have picked this one to be your favorite.
Now, mind you, like I just said that Batman's my favorite superhero, and I didn't say that Batman was my favorite comic book movie. I mean,
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm surprised that like Keaton
if you put
Batman.
if you put TMNT right up next to Batman One, I will pick TMNT all day, every day.
Now, see, people are gonna ask when he says Batman one. We got to use the proper nerd and geek vernacular for the fans out there. Are we talking Batman 89? Are we talking Keaton Batman? Are we
Keaton.
talking? So wait, because I agree with you, Keaton's Batman for me. Then it comes down to Batfleck. Then it goes to Pattinson. and then bail because I hate the Rachel,
Yeah.
like the cigarette smoke. That's like no, love him as Batman, but did not like him talking. Batfleck
Okay.
was dope. Pattinson was
Dre,
dope.
you in the hot seat. Who's your favorite Batman?
I already said Michael Keaton. Keaton's my
Michael
favorite. Michael
Keaton's your favorite Batman.
hmm
See,
Hands down.
I love Michael Keaton for the pure nostalgia, but I feel like I'm gonna get
The comments are gonna flame him. Prepare,
yeah,
folks. Flame on. Flame on,
think
guys.
Pattinson's Batman is the closest accurate Batman. He is a
Pat,
detective.
Pattinson is a different. Okay, so this is negating Clooney. This is negating Kilmer.
Yeah, for
R.I.P.
sure.
R.I.P. Kilmer.
Yeah.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
But when I take the Batmen that have been Batman, you know, Keaton's Batman was and RIP to our boy Adam West, because people got to give Adam West his due too.
True.
Because
True.
TV Batman wasn't also a movie because Adam West was in the movie with Burt Ward. So,
Sure.
but if I peel away those layers and I really dig to not just who the core of what Batman is, but I think embody that swagger. Like, to me, Bruce is arrogant, but not to the point of arrogance like Bale was. Where like, oh, I'm just gonna walk in here, I can buy it. He could do that. He's not Tony Stark. Bale was
Right.
trying to be Tony Stark. When I compare like Bruce Wayne. Bruce
Yeah.
Wayne was more calculated.
Right.
Batfleck, when he's sitting there, I gotta go fight Superman. I'm gonna freaking train. And Homeboy sitting there doing the weights,
Yeah.
getting jacked, and then he's
We
making
can
the
we
kryptonite. I could go
we can
down the list.
we can both agree as far as build go, Batfleck had it.
Oh yeah,
Bat had the build for Batman. I would
Keaton had
say
the
that.
swag. Keaton got the
Uh,
swag.
I would say Ben Affleck had the build. Um, uh, shoot, I'm just blanking out here. Christian Bale had the tech,
Oh
and I
yeah,
feel as far as the closest Batman, I would say Robert. Honestly,
As a young Batman, yes, I would say if I had to compare it to the animated series that was the Batman that was on WB during the early 2000s, the late 90s, early 2000s, not Batman the animated series. Um, that Batman where he's like a younger Batman, where he's kind of finding and he's being the more detective. I
mm,
think that, you know, as far as presence wise, for being the detective and kind of just because he's still fresh off of his trauma, you know,
right?
it's there's no Robin, there's
Yeah,
no, there's no,
he's
Batgirl,
he's
there's just
not Bruce.
Gordon.
He's not Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean? He's just a shell at this point in his
Oh yeah,
life.
and Pattinson does a great job. I'm not going to deny him that. I think he's fantastic. I just think that for me, if I were to pick my Batman, it's definitely Keaton because the Flash. Sorry, shout out to Dave and the Outer Dimensions podcast because we have flamed the Flash movie hard. But I the two saving graces in that whole film, Michael Keaton and Supergirl. They
Oh
were the
yeah,
two. They were the two saving graces in that whole film.
yeah.
Only reasons my ass had put my ass in a seat for that film. And
Yeah.
when I looked at Keaton and I saw him like a crotchety old man that can beat your ass with bare feet in
And
the kitchen in
Chunk.
with the chancletas. My man had chanclas on and is sitting there with a freaking like fedora and just like and an ascot. Like he had swag and he beat you with the chanclas. Like OD. He got the love from me. But see, folks, that's what you get here. You breaking eggs. You all don't know how your boy and his boys, and you may see some girls on here too. You know how we all love our Batman, but that's yo, see that's woo. Okay. Speaking of movies and keeping into this now, if you guys missed on Saturday when Dave and I talked about Spider-Man, there was a point when I'm not going to spoil the movie for anybody, but for anybody that knows, and I did talk to Tats. Shout out to my boy Tats. Uh, they thought we were going to come to blows, and I actually got messages from friends that were like, "Yo, you and Dave are going to fight? Like y'all were mad at each other? Like yo, Dre, like y'all were cutting each other." I was like, "Bro, that's just how we get." Mario and I verbally kind of had this when I brought this up to him, and I found out that this was his current favorite horror film. And as a courtesy, I didn't go to see it. Your boy found his ways. If you know, you know. And I watched it. And I have my opinions. But Mario, currently, please let the class know why this movie is your favorite of
So
horror.
this
Of horror.
at this moment in life, in this season of life, Obsession, my favorite horror movie at this moment. In a long time, I haven't had that chill up my spine, that unhinged feeling that this movie gave me. You know, the way that she creeped around the house in the dark and the way that the camera shot her in the dark was just amazing. Not to mention the very unsettling feeling of her being trapped in her own body and this being forced to be obsessed with this guy. Um, it's terrifying. Like I couldn't on both parts, the male figure and the woman figure in the movie. Not to mention her acting was fantastic for her to be able to slip in and out of both characters at one time is was amazing. Her acting was amazing. But like I said, I haven't felt this, um, that tingle up your spine until I watched this movie. It's been a while. It's been a while. Let's say that. But
So,
yeah,
so,
at this session,
so, my view of this film, okay, I'm gonna preface this. I needed a different opinion because I know that this after watching this film, I felt like I wasted an hour and 40 minutes. And I say this respectfully because I just I saw this movie and it went six different ways. Like it felt like I was watching somebody try to do single white female, someone do Evil Dead, somebody do body horror, somebody do demonic ghost like energy presence, someone's doing like 60s but in the modern era aesthetic with the 80s kind of aesthetic. It just it did too much. And if I have ADHD, to all my neurodivergents out there, I get it. I may be neurodivergent myself. My wife says I am, and so is my daughter. But that's probably going to be what the neurologist will tell me. But and in any event, I think this film went so many different ways. I just couldn't find anything. And it wasn't written for me. The dialogue, the reactions, there was just like there was a scene that she does, the indie scene that's basically been memed everywhere, where it's like, no, 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 no. Like, don't do that. I told my wife, I described the scene to her because my wife doesn't like horror movies. And my teenager, she's like, "Oh, that was such a cringe scene." And I'm sitting there like, "See, that's who they wrote this for, not for me." Because if my girl got up in a restaurant and starts looking at me and starts going, "No, no, 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 no," I would have given her a look and been like, "Honey," I would have yanked her butt down to the seat and we would have had a conversation, and there would have been maybe a verbal fight. but like nobody reacted. And it was just such an out of body experience. And I could think that my age, my mentality, my taste in films probably and weirdly enough, I love the horror genre. It's like in my top five favorite genres to watch. This just was not it for me. And I think Indy, she's absolutely beautiful. Loved her in the WB Superman show. She was fantastic. She's being looked at for Rogue or Mystique in the current X-Men with the MCU. And I know my daughter said she's being picked up for Fourth Wing. For those that read it, if you know, you know. Um, they're going to have her be one of the characters supposedly in that. So it looks like she's getting a lot of work. And if this movie did that for her career, perfect. But for me, it wasn't for me. This would be a hard. I'm glad I kind of passed on it. I had a passing interest to want to see it, but you know what though, Mario, let's tell the audience, how old are you?
I'm 39.
See, so we're not far apart in age, but we're far apart enough that maybe I think that it's not a generational gap because there's still enough of a generation that Mario and I still have very similar likes. But I think it's because he's on the cusp of the present generation, so to speak, that it may relate better for him than it does for me. And I think that that's what made me kind of have such a visceral reaction because I was like, bro, there's so many other good horror films out there. Like I was like, man, there's Evil Dead. There's freaking we had like uh six different films that came out last year that I would easily pick any of those. I would have picked Megan 2
Oh my god.
over this.
That's
At
that's
least
that's
at
crossing the
least
line. Sir.
no, no, no,
That's
no.
a
See, now
horror
see, at
film.
least with Megan, I knew what I'm going. I know what I'm buying. You know what I'm
No,
saying? Like
that's not even a horror film, Dre.
it is. It is. It's a sci-fi horror. I had to look that up. It is sci-fi horror. But like it's
Well, in my defense, there's a lot that anybody can relate to this movie. You got the really meek guy who likes the girl at the very beginning, and he just can't get the words out, and he finds this alternative way of trying to get what he wants, even though he doesn't believe it's going to happen. It happens, but over time, you realize that he's a piece of crap. Like
is
you just start
though.
hating,
But
you start
see,
hating
here
because
I'm going to defend him. But is he though? It was part wishmaster. He made a wish, and the thing was evil enough, and a weird, again, don't know if it is a demonic presence of that magical piece of wood that's from
he's a
somewhere.
piece of because he knows that a really good friend of his is being forced to do something she doesn't want to do. I mean, even the risky scenes, you can tell it's not her. It's not her at all.
Oh
But
no,
yet
and that
he knows.
that's where I also had like a line where it felt like I was watching something that was even like having my 16, almost 17-year-old watch it. I was kind of like I prefaced it to my wife because I usually let her watch, and my wife lets her watch pretty much most anything. But
Right.
if I've seen it and my wife's like, she'll look at me and I'm like, hey, maybe not, you know, let it come
Right.
through me. And my wife trusts me because she knows I'm not going to put anything in front of her. And I did
Right.
tell my wife what the scene was. So my wife knew that it wasn't going to be like, oh, like you're showing our daughter, like this, because it's a very awkward scene. And,
Yeah.
as a dad, as a girl dad, it even moreover made me like, or like, again, cringe moment. But
Right.
I think as a guy, where Mario can say that you can relate to the character, I think there's ways that men can relate to that. I think there's even women that can relate to that as well as being the male character as well, where it's kind of like the unrequited. As if we look at it as anime, it's like the unrequited love. You love somebody, but you don't know how to ever get the words out, and then like, boom, a magical thing happens, and like you can now get that, but then it's you don't know what you're bargaining for. And then there was
Right.
just like there was things elements to it that it's you could look and I could defend the guy. He was going through depression. He had his own trauma. There was a lot of weird implied
Uh,
things that I couldn't really say I didn't dislike him or grow to hate him. I mean, I think he
I
succumbed to
did.
urges that I think
Um,
anybody would.
there's a scene in the movie where she's passed out in the bed, and the real Nikki is speaking out to him like,
I remember
"Just
kill
kill me."
me. Yeah, just kill
Yeah,
me. Just kill
and
me. And he
he's
said
like,
no.
"So hard to be with me." That is when I was like, "Okay, this guy is
Yeah, but
not
that's when
good."
he turned his see, but in wrestling, we would call that's when he turned the tide, though, because I think that that's when he started making those realizations that it was not what he bargained for, and he did start going to find. So it was sort of like I said, it's sort of like Wishmaster. Like you gave him the wish, you gave him what he wanted, but then he turns that corner when
Right.
they have that late night thing, and again, folks, I'm not telling you not to go watch this movie. I'm going to tell you just
On
if you're
another
go ahead.
perspective, like on the um, you know, I can't speak for everybody, but most people have been in that situation where you've dealt with a person who has a crush on you, and it might be a little awkward or weird and unpredictable.
True.
And in that situation with him, where he's dealing with her and she's like losing her mind to the point where she won't even let him leave the house. You know,
The duct tape
that's a
door.
scary. That's a scary thought. Like,
Oh no, and
wow.
that's that realism that I do see where it but that's like one of seven different bike spokes that this producer and the writing team were kind of leading me on, but it didn't go anywhere. It's like it needed to pick one genre of horror or subgenre of horror and stay in that vein. Like if you were gonna do Wishmaster, where you make the wish, tie it to this thing, delve into the lore. Don't give me this magic tree bark that if I make the wish and snap it, it's a one way thing. Like they
Counter argument. Counter argument.
go ahead.
At least they didn't do a remake. At least this is
Okay,
something.
I won't disagree because we've had sequelitis and remake, and I'm not disagreeing with you that I can't argue against that, but I can argue for a lack of originality or
Do we
a
need another
or
Wishmaster? I don't think so.
no, we don't need another, or we don't need another leprechaun. Where's me pot to gold?
Right.
Like
Versus Dave versus Chucky versus.
well, we're getting another Chucky. We are getting another Chucky. They've already stated we are this later this year, if not early next year. We are getting a remake of that Due
Willing
Dim
to see that. I'd be willing
Yeah.
to see that.
See, that I could go see because that again was a horror movie I grew up with. This I grew up into like
Also, it's
Halloween.
comedy. It's a bit of a comody too. Like,
Exactly, Child plays a comedy, like not really scary. I mean, it's scary, but it's not true believers. If you know, you
right,
know, like level scary. It's not Exorcist level scary.
right,
Like to many people that know horror, that if you look at like I would say Evil Dead is corny to many people until you watch the 2012 remake of that movie, where I
right.
think that because of the director is really dark and really edgy and gritty, which is why I liked Evil Dead
Yeah,
Rise because that was that kind of it was in the same universe, same time era, and then it was in the same kind of you know vein of keeping me scared, but and it's tied to something that's following people. And
yeah.
then, you know, I think that that's where I'm like, okay, if a remake is smart and it's sticking to the roadmap, and then it's going to tie it into the greater universe, kind of like Stephen King did with, loosely with the Easter eggs and Welcome to Derry and oh God, the one with Ewan McGregor, the sequel to The Shining, Doctor
Actually,
Sleep. Yeah, Doctor
Yeah.
Sleep. There's a great, I think but again, that's like 40 plus years of cinema that I've seen and have digested and have aged well into cinema that they're considered classics versus this. Do I think this is going to be a Stanley Kubrick 20, you know, 20 like 2011 or 2001? Do I think it's going to be a level of like Stephen King's masterclass or like an Alfred Hitchcock? Hell no. This guy can't even touch any of those guys. This
This
is like
this
this is like
could
Eli
almost,
Roth.
you could almost say this is like a mixture of Wishmaster and
Single white
oh
female.
no, oh my gosh, it just slipped my mind. Uh, Misery, Misery, almost like a mixture of those two movies.
See, I added another branch to this film because when I think of the spokes on a bike, like it just kept going in either direction. Because you literally could add any subgenre of any of those movies we've talked about, like Misery, freaking. I mean, dude, I can go down the list of why this movie. It's so funny. It's one of those movies that's so bad that I told a coworker. I told Mario this. I was at work and one of the coworkers came. He's like, "Man, I had just seen, for reference, I just saw The Odyssey. Chef's Kiss, fantastic film, Oscar worthy." And he says he saw this, and I've seen this. And I was like, so you saw the trash movie that my teenager liked, and the guy's close to Mario's and I's age, and he lives here in North Carolina, mind you. He was just like, yeah, I thought it was good, and bro, bro, you for real? This movie was hot garbage. And I said
I
it
will,
just like that in
will
our
say
meeting.
that I probably wouldn't have went and seen Obsession over Odyssey, if I had to say. Um,
That's what, like, you're gonna give up seeing, you know, the amazing Christopher Nolan. Again, I'm extremely biased. For those that saw that video with me and Dave, y'all know I'm biased when it comes to Christopher Nolan. But see, again, when you come to your films, it's current though. Like one of these days, I'll bring Mario back on, and he'll probably come on the Outer Dimensions with me and Dave, and we'll really roast him over the coals with some good classics, or hit him with he'll hit us over the head. So, sometimes our guests, you guys can do that. Now, one other thing I love to ask people is, what are you watching? Because again, how we digest media by whatever age we are determines, and it kind of puts us in a place of understanding what we love, because it leads to other things and sometimes they can bleed into one another. So these are his three current shows, and he was actually talking to me about this backstage, and he had talked to me about this via the text through all day today. So Mario, I want to go into, I can talk about two of these very well. I cannot talk about one of them, and I'm going to start with that one because I don't really have a dog in the race for this one, because
okay.
I am an NCIS C CSI,
Okay.
the rookie uh kind of guy when it comes to my cop procedurals.
Yeah.
Law and Order would be another one I would throw in there. Criminal Minds. I think I love the diversity in the cast. I love the cast of people. I can't get into it. Why are you
Okay.
so?
So I'm not sure if you've ever seen the show called Mindhunters.
I have.
I thought that was an excellent series.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, that's short. I do feel like it has that kind of element to this show where they're investigating a crime of a serial killer and they're looking into all the profiles that they can go into. I love that. Each character kind of has their own little background and why they're in the show, obviously. But it's just a really good show. Just them tracking down these serial killers, the different ways that they look at each case, and the way that the killers, are coming up with these crazy ways of, you know, finding their victims. I just think it's an amazing show.
So
Um,
again, but for police procedurals, when you have a show like The Rookie with Nathan Fillion at the helm, absolutely fantastic show. When you have NCIS with the legacy coming out of JAG, and absolutely love JAG, absolutely love NCIS. I've been a 23, 24-year fan of the show. What about these characters in particular? Because usually it's the team of characters or something about their dynamic brings it to the forefront. What is that for you?
well, I mean, you got Hobbs. You know, he's like um, the lead guy. I mean, everyone kind of reports to him,
So he's
and he
like
just
Gibbs. He's like Gibbs on NCIS.
he is very monotone and just like to
That's
the
Gibbs.
point.
That's
To
Gibbs.
the, and just just it's so funny when people are like trying to joke around with him, and he just has this like serious look on his face, like we're working right now. Obviously, you got like the girl behind the chair. She's amazing. Um, she's just got a really quirky, geeky personality that we can relate to, obviously. And then you got Reed. I think he's on the spectrum somehow, and he just is able to memorize. He's a savant, everything, and it's amazing just seeing him read through evidence and remembering parts that you and I would just glaze over. Just small details in like letters and um, certain aspects of cases. He's a very interesting character as well. Um, then you got Morgan. It cracks me up because when me and my fiance are watching this, I every time that I see Morgan, I'm like, when is he going to tackle somebody? Because he's just that character that doesn't play around. You know what I mean? He just if he knows where the bad guy is, he's going to go after them, and then he's going to tackle them because he does it almost in every episode. But it's just a great group of people. That, like they all have their own different personalities, and the premise behind the show is really cool.
Hmm.
I just like it.
Interesting. Because again, like, and I'm gonna put this pose this to the audience. When you guys are watching your police procedurals, what are you guys watching? Hill Street Blues. I mean, I'm gonna go old school. NYPD Blue. Uh, you know, I could I consider? No, I couldn't consider that because those are more crime shows. But or yeah, Law and Order. Criminal Intent. I know a lot of people love the Criminal Intent one, and I know that there's there's so many other police procedurals. Comment below. I'm the big fan of The Rookie. Again, I've been hooked on it since season one. So I have to bring up this one because I know many people that are fans of my show and are geeks, nerds in general, absolutely have had tattoos. They were just here recently for a convention that came through Charlotte. Misha and Jensen, they were here. What about Supernatural? I mean, everybody's watched it. Some people feel it should have been in 10 seasons. I'm one of them. Some people said it went too long at 15. What about this show is on your current rotation?
Well, the reason why I fell in love with Supernatural, one, it's kind of one of those sleeper series that I didn't pay any mind to. Now, don't get me wrong. When it first came out, it was on my radar, but like it just I just didn't get into it just because back then you kind of had to watch it, week by week. It wasn't like it is now. You know what I mean? You can't just sit and binge every season of it. But my fiance is a big Supernatural fan, so it's kind of like something that me and her bonded over. Um, Obviously, as far as the show goes, the mythology behind all the bad guys, the monsters, the way they hunt these monsters, the brotherhood in the characters, and I'm not just speaking, Sam and Dean. I'm talking about Castiel. And
Crowley. You can even throw Crowley. Have you gotten to meet Crowley yet?
Crowley, I don't like Crowley. I
See?
don't.
Oh, he's gonna get hate from a lot of people. So don't hate on my brother, please. I love
I
Crowley. He's cool people.
don't like Crowley.
Crossroads Demons need love too. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Obviously, he's a cool character, but as far as like me backing him, he's just a scumbag to me. I don't like him.
Hey, he joins the team. I mean, I don't know how far have you completed all 15 seasons?
No, not yet. I'm like,
Okay.
I
What
think I'm
season?
like season 8 or 9.
Oh, okay, so you haven't gotten to where I feel like the show should end. So
Oh,
so the show technically should have ended at season 10 in many of the fans' opinions. Because at that point it was like I think 11 or 12 years the show had been running. And
right,
it was like the arc couldn't be any bigger, which was the true arc of like heaven versus hell. So when you watch that, like I'm not gonna spoil it for you because I know you and your fiance are watching it, but like
well, she's completed it, but they're actually, I think they're in talks of putting out a one last episode. It's going to be like more of a movie.
yes,
Um,
so they did the Winchesters, which was their spin-off series, which was an alternate timeline where the basically Sam it was based Winchesters was based off of an episode that had aired. And Dave, which I know you're going to watch this, correct me if I'm wrong, or anybody else can correct me if I'm wrong. That spinoff episode is, I think, the reason why the pilot for Winchesters basically became the thing, and they did their season, which was Dean goes back and meets the dad, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, when he was younger, and
right,
somehow sets things apart where they find out that where we think the mom, who wasn't into the hunting as much, the mom is like a huge hunter, and she's training Jeffrey Dean Morgan, the young guy who plays Jeffrey Dean Morgan, his character, and like it was kind of like their relationship, kind of not like will they, won't they, even though we know they have to, duh, because we wouldn't have the characters, but it was like they had two other characters, and it was I think it was like the Spanish. It was a Mexican girl, and then like a Asian guy or a black guy. One of the something like that. I can't remember the exact makeup, but they were like kind of like Scooby doing it. It felt like a live action kind of semi serious Scooby Doo, and it was interesting. But I don't think it needed to be. It didn't last past its season. It failed. Um, but then they did. I know that because of their meetup in The Boys, they still keep it and lots of they work on a lot of projects with each other. They've done. I know The Boys was the last one because Kripke wrote The Boys, who does Supernatural, and then they've done like a couple of like Walker Texas Ranger, the reboot that you had Jared Padalecki was Walker. I know Jensen showed up on there. Misha Collins showed up on there, and then they've all kind of dabbled in each other's projects. Um, I think it would be cool if they did another live action like episode, like if they did a movie. But
yeah,
I don't think I
if,
need anything else out of it.
I think they're doing another like a movie, like movie-esque episode that they're gonna. It's like almost like a finale to tie everything together. As like a way to make the fans happy.
Really,
But
after season 15, I don't think we really needed another one.
I think it's a
But
rumor, so we'll
well, no,
see
no,
if
no.
it.
I'm saying I think because I've heard the rumor too, and I'm like, if they to me, I felt like you didn't need to put a bow on it. I felt like they said it was going to be the other flip side of that rumor was that, and again, people can comment what they've heard because one of the other rumors I heard was that it was supposed to be like an in between episode, like it was supposed to be like them on a mission between some seasons. Like it was two events were occurring, and the episode was going to be like something like that. There's also been like kind of the one last hurrah that they were going to kind of do something a la the anime that they did because a lot of people don't know there was a supernatural anime that they actually did that was in the early 2000s, and it was voiced by Jared Padalecki. Did like a couple episodes with Jensen, and then Jensen did a couple of solo episodes. Jared did a couple of solo episodes. I watched it in both English and in Japanese, and it was kind of like anime, what you would expect an anime supernatural to be, corny but still cool.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
this obviously leads. It's kind of almost apropos. I didn't even realize I was going to go this path. But speaking of animation,
Right.
obviously, probably the most iconic of the Saturday morning cartoons of the
Right.
modern-ish era of the 90s. For it to be in your rotation, I have to ask the silly question of why.
Well,
But I think you're going to tell me more of why you
it's
love
X-Men.
this show.
Obviously, it's the X-Men, and not only that, me and you talk, Dre, and you're like, X-Men 97, you need to check it out. And I'm like,
uh,
okay.
OD, I'm going to
And
say it.
started it, and I blew through all episodes within a matter of like 2-3 days. And you knew it because I was literally reporting back to you through text message every time something crazy was happening inside.
Nothing breaks my day up better than when one of your closest friends will sit there and hit you up and be like, "Yo, I gotta ask you this theory on this thing about the comics," and and I'm just like, "Huh? Like this is random." And then I'm sitting there while I'm at work, and I'm like, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is the theory." And then I'm like, "Wait a second, but is this related to this?" And then he's like, "Yeah, because I did this," and I'm just like, so I'm sitting there connecting dots on some things I'd seen, and then by accident, he kind of spilled the tea on last week's episode, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Shit, I didn't see it yet." And he's like, "Damn it!" He's like, "But I asked you." I said, "No." His exact question was, "Do you watch X-Men '97?" Not
No,
did you watch it? He says,
I
"Do
said
you watch
did.
it?"
I
Bro,
said
don't make
did.
me. No, look, he gonna make me go to the. I'm gonna go to the text message. Look at that. Y'all gonna make me. I'm gonna go right. Give me a minute. Give me a minute.
Check your text
Well,
messages.
exact facts. Check your text messages. I'm gonna go look at my text messages. I'm gonna be old because I got my old man glasses on. Let me see right here. Let me see right here. This is old. There's a lot of text messages, folks. Like, look, you don't understand. I gotta dig. I got to dig. Okay. Shit, I ain't gonna get him. But he might be right on this one, but I think I'm more right than he is on this one. But we're gonna say in any event, I was like, motherfucker, you didn't told me what the episode was about. And he's like, I didn't mean to. And I was like, I don't care. I'm gonna watch it tonight anyway. So right after I got off work, he ended up falling asleep because we usually play video games after work. He fell asleep. So I decided, I was like, I'll pop it on and watch it. And I was like, the next day, I was like, oh yes, I see what you mean now. Now, yeah, this is what it is. So of course, like I could connect the dots. And Dave always shouted me out. He said it with Spider-Man. When it comes to comic books, apparently amongst my friends, I am that repository of comic book knowledge. I guess it comes from years of being an only child for a long time and reading comic books to get by. And I that's kind of how I like grew my love of reading. And I kind of understand why X-Men 97 works with a lot of the weird arcs that they try to link in. And, I know this is Bo's last season, Mr. DeMeo. Come back. We need you to do 3 and 4 because if you're not at the helm, it's going to suck because damn is what I'm going to say. But I think X-Men 97 probably right now would be on everybody's watch list if you're a comic book fan, or even if you're not a comic book fan, it's definitely crossing uh, your TV list. So much anybody that's not watching it needs to watch it. Now, I'm gonna see. I think that was the last slide. Yeah, that was it. That was the last slide. So I always like to. I borrow from a lot of. I watch a lot of wrestling podcasts, and there's a great guy for anybody that likes wrestling podcasts that are kind of like this, that are interview podcasts. Watch Chris Van Vliet, amazing dude, and he always says there's things that he's like. There's something that I wake up today. He's like, I'm grateful to be alive, and he always asks for like gratitude. So I've been trying to figure out like what's something that is not this stuff related. What is one thing, if you can't pick one, give me three things that you are truly like that you're having the shit day at work. Just life is just eh, it's the shits. What are the three things that you can look to that make your day better?
Well, obviously, number one, above everything, is my kids. And I have two of my own and two stepkids, and I love every one of them. Um, they're the reason why I get up and go to work and do what I do. Second
Facts.
thing is my friends. Dre, you're one of them. Hey.
Thanks, man.
And
I'm okay.
the
I'm not crying my allergies.
thing that I know I kind of like rely on is my creativity, my ability to draw and stuff. That's kind of like my outlet. Obviously, video games, but I feel like that's media and it could be included in what we've already kind of talked about. But as far as like just something that kind of, I can check out and just go into the zone is when I pick up a pencil and I start drawing something. That's my go-to. So
Look at that, man. So, like, folks, this is again breaking the ice. Sometimes the ice can chip a little bit and it gets a little bit too much and it goes everywhere. This kind of did that on a couple of big topics because, again, it's two guys that just know each other really well. And sometimes when I do this show, you may catch that I don't know the person so well and we can have those kind of moments. But on the same breath, it's giving you that kind of deep cut to understanding that, there's layers to us. A lot of people joke. I say that I think geeks, nerds, all of us in this community we call, geek culture, pop culture. We all are like an onion. There's a lot of layers to it, and you know, there's good, there's bad, but there's still layers to understanding how we get to where we're going. So, Mario, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you because this is one of the things I love doing is getting to talk to people I call friend and I call that someone that I care about. That's like family to me. And you know, again, if you guys want to see him, you guys can play games with him. He plays on Xbox. Eventually, he'll get a PS5. But he does play video games and he does play Rivals. He does play Destiny. And he's just a good person to play with. So if you guys are ever on those platforms, especially, I know Tats, we got to get our group together for Rivals. We got to talk about that. And TG, I'm shouting you out too because we got to be playing when you got time because I know we're all busy. But again, if you guys want to catch us, we do play video games on the weekdays. If you guys enjoy this sort of content, let me know. Comment below because I know Mario likes watching my content not only as my friend because he's my number one critic next to my wife and my kids and my sister Nicole. He knows her. They're all my biggest critics, but they love me to death. So if you guys love this sort of content, let me know because I'm going to be doing a couple more of these episodes sprinkled throughout this current season that I will tell you now is going to end on December 11th, the week before my anniversary. So that's going to be the end of this current season of the Father Figures podcast. And then season 2 will start up in January, in mid-January. We still haven't picked a date exactly yet. But again, Mario, I appreciate you. I know you don't like do the podcasting thing, but he has been interested in wanting to come on other shows that I'm on. So we may be seeing Mario pop up on some other fun shit that we do. So
it was
again, nah, we love you, brother. We had a great time. As always, my friends. I can't say that because I say that on Dave's on the Outer Dimensions podcast. Shout out to my brother Dave. I'm just gonna say this: if you guys need anything, reach out because the community is always there for you. And I will catch you guys on the next episode. Peace, y'all.